Stay ready to proceed.
Yes, sir.
Travis McMichael.
Ready, Your Honor.
Greg McMichael.
Ready.
Mr. Bryan.
Ready, Your Honor.
All right. Let's go ahead and get the panel then.
All rise for the jury. Please be seated.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready to proceed with the case. During the opening statement a little bit earlier, noted that one or two of you who've been here for some time with us, sometimes it is not as easy to follow things after we've been in the courtroom. Sometimes folks get tired, particularly later in the morning, early in the afternoon, after lunch. If you're having any issues, let me know. If y'all could keep an eye on each other, just make sure everybody's alert and doing all right and able to focus on the evidence in the courtroom, that would be appreciated by the court. All right. But with that, if we are ready to proceed, as I understand, Mr. Sheffield. All right. On behalf of the defendant, Travis McMichael, Mr. Sheffield.
Yes, defense calls Travis McMichael. Yeah.
Stand up.
Yeah. Just raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and sit.
Thank you. Okay. You've seen this done with several witnesses.
I have.
It's your turn.
Yes, sir.
Travis, are you aware that you do not have to testify?
I am.
How are you aware of that?
You have explained it to me several times. Then the judge this morning has also explained it to me.
Are you aware that you are presumed innocent and you have the right to remain silent?
Leading and irrelevant.
Yeah. We don't need to go through all this. This was done before. So let's get to this testimony.
Okay. Travis,
Yes, sir.
do you want to testify?
I do.
Why?
I want to give my side of the story. I want to explain what happened and to be able to say what happened from the way I see it.
Okay. Well, let's do that. Let's talk about Satilla Shores first.
Okay.
When did you move into Satilla Shores?
I moved into Satilla Shores September of 2018.
Okay. Had you visited Satilla Shores before then?
Yes, my parents moved there in 2013, and I'd be there frequently visiting them.
When you moved into Satilla Shores, where did you move into?
My parents' house.
Okay. What types of things would y'all do Who was living in the house with you when you moved in 2018?
Okay, my parents, my mother and father were there at the time, and then I moved in, and I had my son every other week, and so he would be with us then. And then my sister moved back in a few months afterwards.
Okay. How old was your son at that time?
He was just turned 2.
Okay. What type of people live in the Satilla Shores neighborhood?
Still Shores is an older community. You have a lot of retirees, and then also you start to see young families in there as well. So any given evening you see older couples around, or young families with children out on the roads and the yards and stuff like that.
All right, and seeing old people around and young children out in the yards, are there any other types of activities that you would typically see going on in the Satilla Shores neighborhood while you were living there?
Yes, it's one of the typical small town neighborhoods. You'd have people ride around with golf carts, people walking dogs, people with their kids with little Power Wheels trucks, and children on bicycles, and it's just a real quiet community. That's it's typical.
Did you ever interact with people or see people when you were out in the neighborhood?
Yes, if I was out in the front yard or checking the mail or doing whatever, everybody's friendly, so you'd stop, talk to, hey, how you doing? Didn't hang out with very many people, but yeah, we talked frequently. Anybody that come by, people stop and talk to each other.
Was there any crime happening in the Satilla Shores neighborhood that you were aware of, going as far back as when you first moved in September of 2018?
It was rare at first, but it started building up.
When did it start to build up?
I would say about October, November. It was about time I moved into Satilla Shores. About September, October of 18 is when it starting to roll on.
And what types of things were you aware of that were happening at that time?
What I was hearing was there was car break-ins.
It's not all for the truth. It's all ultimately for how it impacted him and what he did.
It's overruled. Go ahead.
So yeah, it was you see car break-ins. You'd hear people not loitering, but in the yards, suspicious persons. I've heard a trailer stolen. Just little stuff like that, but it was continuous. It was every couple months you hear something else.
Okay. Did you ever have anybody going through your things in the neighborhood, or have any crime happening to you back in that September 18, October, November, and moving into 19?
I did. Right at the first, I started having my truck was actually broken into, or it was open. You see stuff was scattered around. Nothing was taken. Didn't think anything of it. And then by February
Of what year?
Of 2019.
Okay.
I bought a little car to drive back and forth to work, and it was broken into numerous times. I got to the point where I would just leave the thing unlocked because they broke the door handle and they broke the glove box. So I just kind of left it as just let them have at it, leave everything else alone. But it was continuous.
Did you discuss this with your mother and father?
I did.
Did you discuss it with your sister after she moved in?
Yes.
Did they share things with you about what they were hearing happening in the neighborhood about crime?
They did.
All right. Did you discuss this generally with other people that you would see in the neighborhood?
Yes, it was going on so much in the neighborhood that was usually the topic. If you stop by, hey, have you heard of, down the road they had a car broken in. Have your car been broken in lately? Stuff like that. It was just kind of common occurrence at that point. So yeah, it was a discussion.
Were there other sources other than your own experience or talking to your mom and dad where you learned about crime going on in the neighborhood?
Yes.
What was that?
Facebook.
Tell me about that.
Okay, so Facebook, there was a page. I don't know who set it up, but there's a Satilla Shores Neighborhood Watch or Facebook page, and I was either added on there or either way I was on there. And scrolling through Facebook, if you're not looking for it, if something is updated on there, it would pop up. And say in the evening, I'm looking and a neighbor would pop up. Hey, we just had police came through. Somebody, the neighbor had somebody in their yard, or something was broken into, or something like that. So I'd see that, scroll through, and then my mother was also on there, so she would advise me, hey, did you see this? And I would look at it or something like that. And then also there's exit 29. It's called the exit 29.
Let me stop you there.
Okay.
How is exit 29 relevant as a location?
That was the area we were at. Exit 29 is the interstate exit, which is a couple miles from the highway. And then they had police scanners and stuff like that on there too. So you'd see stuff on there as well.
All right. Did you ever listen to police scanners or pay attention to notices from police scanners?
No, I did download it. If there was something going on in the neighborhood, I'd pop it up, but you never really catch anything.
Did you and your mother and father ever caution one another about how you left your cars or how you would leave your things around the house?
Constantly.
Like in what ways?
She would constantly remind me and my father to lock our trucks, or we'd tell her to lock the trucks, but hey, you need to lock your car. I saw where somebody had their stuff broken into or something like that.
So as we're moving from late 18 into early 19, which I think the time period that you're talking about, how did you feel about what you were learning about crime in the neighborhood?
It was beginning to become a problem, and it was definitely a problem because it was starting to be a common occurrence, like I said.
Okay. Did you take any action at that time, other than what you've described by you and your parents talking about locking things up and keeping stuff out of your car that could be stolen? Was that about it?
That was about it, yes.
Did your parents appear to be concerned about the crime that was happening in the neighborhood?
Well, we would discuss it, but it was about the same level that I was on. Just, hey, make sure that our stuff is locked and secured.
And how old are your parents back in 1819?
Early 60s.
Early 60s, okay. Did you speak to ultimately any other of your neighbors in the neighborhood about crime in the neighborhood as we move forward from February 2019 into the summer? Did you begin to speak to people about crime in the neighborhood?
Yes, it was, like I said, we weren't searching it, but you stopped by, yes, I saw this or heard this or read that. Or
Can you name some of the people that you may have spoken to?
I know one was Matt Albenzi. He would stop by, see us in the yard, and it would come to it. I am sure there's another neighbor down the road.
Was Kim Ballesteros a neighbor that you spoke to?
Yes, Kim Ballesteros was right across the street from us, and she had her purse stolen from out of her vehicle, I believe, and she told me about that. Yes.
Okay. Do you remember when that was supposed to have happened?
It was summer of 2019, June, July, somewhere around there.
Okay. What about Randy Parr? Is he one of your neighbors?
Yes.
Did you ever speak to him about crime?
Yes. I've told him what was going on around there.
Okay. Did you notice that your neighbors began to take certain actions around their homes based on the crime that was happening in the neighborhood?
Yes, about that time, around May, June, July, around there, you started noticing and hearing people starting to put cameras in their houses. It was, I can't remember all the people, but you go down the road, you drive down from Still Drive to my house, you see cameras on every, just starting to come up on every house. And also, people weren't going out as much in the evening times either.
What do you mean?
Towards dusk, you used to see kids running around, and older people walking dogs, stuff like that, and it started backing off. And people talking about people in the neighborhood that are these break-ins and these people that are coming around these houses. They were concerned about it, so they wouldn't come out as much anymore.
Did you begin to notice whether police cars were driving through the neighborhood or doing any patrols?
Yes.
And where would you notice that?
See them. You see them, or you'd see it on Facebook. Somebody put, hey, saw, Glenn County Police came through, had the lights on, the side lights, or be outside and see them, or it was pretty obvious.
And did these types of activities give you any concern or cause you to worry in any ways?
It was concerning that nothing was done, that there, that they have to continue to be in the neighborhood. I was glad to see them in the neighborhood, but it's concerning that you have to have that constant presence.
Did you begin to get a sense about, in any way, the conduct of the people, the suspicious people, and the frequency of their visiting, or did you begin to get a sense of their actions and whether those had become bolder or they had become more frequent or whatnot?
It was, I'm not sure if it was getting more, it was staying frequent, but yeah, there was more stuff being, like, that was around the time that the purse was stolen. I heard that, I want to say I heard a trailer was stolen or a boat or something was stolen at the point. Mom's telling me more frequently, there's, she's hearing of more things being taken, being stolen, and more suspicious persons lurking around around that time.
All right. I want to move to a different topic. Have you ever had any law enforcement training?
I have.
Okay. Where did you receive that training?
In the United States Coast Guard.
And did you attend any kind of school to be trained for the Coast Guard for law enforcement purposes?
Yes.
What's the name of the school that you attended?
It was the basic boarding officer course, and then there was following extra classes with it, but it was at the Maritime Law Enforcement Training Center.
Where was that located?
Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay. Did you serve in the Coast Guard?
I did.
What was your dates of active duty?
March of 2007 to June or July of 2016.
Okay. In general, did you have duties other than law enforcement type duties in the Coast Guard?
Yes.
Can you name the category of the type of duty that you had?
Yeah, so my rating, which my average job in the Coast Guard, I was a machinery technician, I was a mechanic. It was my 9 to 5, I guess you would call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And other than going out and doing law enforcement type things, did you do any search or rescue type operations as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Is that part of the Coast Guard practice that you had in addition to law enforcement and doing mechanic work?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you, what are the types of law enforcement things that you did in the Coast Guard?
We did search and rescue. We would go in there, and then if something would arise to that, if the rescue turned into a BUI, we did investigations on that. But it
may be obvious, but what's a BUI?
Boating under the influence. We call us water cops, guys on boats, mainly. But it counter drug.
What was that?
Counter drugs.
Counter drugs. Okay.
Yes. Migration or immigration. Assisted Customs and Border Protection, Drug Enforcement Administration, stuff like that.
I'm sorry, assisted who?
Drug Enforcement Administration, Customs and Border Protection.
Okay. Did you ever write violations or citations for people?
I did.
Did you ever work with local law enforcement when you did your law enforcement investigations on the water?
Yes, several times.
So what types of law enforcement agencies would you work with?
So we would work with local and state law enforcement, the sheriff's department, it'd be sheriff's department where the two stations I was at, and then also state agencies like Florida Wildlife Commission or Georgia Department of Natural Resources or Mississippi Department of Natural Resources.
What is a high interest vessel?
High interest vessel is it would be like a cruise ship or a vessel with kind of like a historical importance, something that if somebody would want to do harm would choose that vessel than anything other, make more news, I guess. And then it's also called an HVA, which is a high value asset, which would also be dangerous cargo. In there too.
Did your activities as a Coast Guard officer involve you working with high interest vessels?
Yes.
In what way?
In security, making sure that we would set up zones to make sure that nobody that's wishing to do harm to it or that would impede its movement would get in the way, and we would actually enforce laws. We had arrest powers to make sure that we can accomplish that mission.
Do you remember the name of the law enforcement course that you took at the Law Enforcement Academy?
Yeah, it was basic boarding officer course.
Okay,
You know.
and what essentially did that training authorize you to do?
It allows us to make. It's called C's 2.
All right, how do you break that down? C's two. What is
All
that?
right. It's an acronym. It's SEASII.
SEASII. Okay.
There's search.
Yes.
Allows us to make examinations.
Okay.
Arrest.
Yes.
Seize.
Okay.
Inspect.
Okay.
And inquire.
Okay. C's 2.
Yes.
All right. And can you tell us a little bit about the components of your training that you had under this C's 2 course?
Yes. So I'll give you. I guess it'd be best if I give you the law that gave
Sure.
me the. All right.
What is the law essentially that authorizes you to be a Coast Guard law enforcement search officer?
So it gave us the arrest powers.
Okay.
And everything involved with that was 14 USC 89 Alpha,
Okay.
which gave Coast Guard officers, petty officers, which I was,
All right.
warrant officers, and reserve of the same on active duty, the right to seize to, search, examine, arrest.
All right. So this here is the code section that gave you the ability to do these
Yeah,
things.
and all vessels in U.S. territorial waters. And,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Did this course have a law component, like a legal component?
It did.
Did the legal component? What did the legal component address?
The heavy one was Fourth Amendment.
All right. And search and seizure, is that what sort of falls under Fourth Amendment?
It did.
Arrest?
Yep.
Okay. And in terms of, did you also deal with the Fifth Amendment,
We did.
like due process, things of that nature?
Yes.
Okay. Did you learn terms like probable cause or reasonable suspicion?
We did.
Okay. And what was your training about probable cause?
Well, the probable cause definition that we received was the level of suspicion by a reasonable and prudent person.
All right, I'm going to write it down, so hold on. Level of suspicion by a reasonable and prudent person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Given the overall circumstances.
Given overall circumstances. Okay.
To believe that a crime has been committed.
There's no spell check on these things, so I'm not sure how I'm doing just yet. Okay. Let me go back to a component perhaps of training. Did you have a component of your training called use of force?
We did, yes.
All right. Can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, so use of force is the level of force needed to compel compliance in the safest manner. And then we had acronyms and everything for that too. We had a use of force continuum.
All right, hold on. All right, so use of force, and you said you have a continuum?
Yes.
What does that mean?
It was it's levels 1 through 6.
I don't know how to spell continuum.
I don't either.
I'm dropping it. C-O-N-T-I-U-M.
And you
To you.
2 U's?
Yes.
We agree on that? 2 U's? We do. The jury's nodding their head. Awesome. All right. So use of force continuum. What is that?
Yeah, so it was drilled into our head. There's 6 levels.
Okay.
And it goes from level 1, which is officer presence,
All right.
I'll just go through all of them.
Okay, what does that mean, officer presence?
Officer presence was what we call showing the flag.
Okay.
Being out there having the flag, the blue lights, just like a cop pulling up on you. You know, you have blue lights, the uniform, his presence, his demeanor, the badge, stuff like that, and it's usually compels compliance. Going to level 1, seeing the police officer or seeing somebody that's in an authoritative figure usually is all it has to go to. People
To compel compliance to do what?
whatever is needed or asked from the officer.
Does it include talking?
Yes.
Okay. Or making an arrest?
Yes, it can.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, what's the next level?
Level 2 is verbal commands.
Okay, what does that mean? It sounds pretty obvious, but what does that mean?
It was task direction and consequence, I believe. Yes, task direction and consequence.
Okay, so give us just a little bit of a working example of that.
So when you're in active duty or you're in law enforcement function, I would say, Mr. Sheffield, you move to the side for me. And if it didn't work to that, so you move to the side for me, or I will have to move you.
Okay.
Usually, you didn't have to go over that if you can.
Is there a physical component to this, or is it just you're talking?
No, that's it. That's just that's all it is. Verbal command.
With the purpose of obtaining what?
Compliance.
Okay, so that you can do what?
So I can do my job safely and effectively.
Okay, all right. Is it volume dependent, your voice?
Yeah, voice inflection and tone is definitely a key into it. Being on a boat, a shrimp boat or something like that, and there's loud engines and everything. If I have to talk to you, if I'm trying to talk to you like this, you can't hear me, you can get aggravated. But if I speak louder and my voice inflection is, hey, move over there, you might take it as I'm upset, and then this can escalate into something that we don't want. But if I take everything into consideration, go, excuse me, can you move over there for me?
Yeah.
It's you use it every day.
All right. You use the word escalate. Is it your goal to escalate situations?
No, absolutely not.
Why?
Because once you escalate, you don't know where it's going to go from there. You want to keep everybody calm and cool and be able to do whatever task is at hand safely and effectively.
All right. What is the next level after verbal command?
Perfectly, it's 3. Control techniques.
All right. What does that mean?
It was anything hands-on, which had a low probability of causing connective tissue damage or injury.
And what's the point of it?
It was if verbal commands didn't work at that point, like if I said earlier, like I will have to move you, it goes to the point where I have to move you, and I control you where I safely can get you to point A to point B, or it also goes into normal application of handcuffs, is to control you, the subject, without any harm to myself or to you.
Okay. What's the next level?
Level 4 was aggressive response techniques.
All right. What does that mean?
It was kicks, stuns, and punches, and the use of pepper spray, what we call OC.
Okay. And at what point does something like this become necessary?
So we had 2 types of subjects. Probably easier if I said it earlier, but level 1 through 3 would be, so you have passive and aggressive. You have passive compliant and passive resistor, and then active resistor and active aggressor.
You're talking about now you, or you're talking about the person that you're dealing with?
The person that you're dealing with.
All right, so say it again, please. The person that you're dealing with, you have levels,
Yes.
and you categorize them as?
There's passive and aggressive.
Okay.
And then broken into there from level 1 and 2. Level 1 is passive compliant, which would, hey, anything I ask you to, you do it.
That would be me.
That would be you, right?
Okay.
Then passive resistor would be, could go into level 2, level 3. Can you move over there for me? You don't. Can you move over there, or I'll have to move you? And then after I make that, you move. That could be a passive resistor, or if
That
I
would be me with the judge sometimes.
Yes.
Okay.
And then normal application of handcuffs, or if I have to put hands on you, as a passive resistor.
Okay.
Level 4,
Yes.
it would be the kick, stones, and punches. It would be active aggressor
Okay.
at that point.
Someone who is
Actively, that is trying to cause you harm.
okay. And what's the next level after 4?
Those intermediate weapons.
Okay. What does that mean?
With what we carried daily was the expandable baton
All right. To be used.
for level 5. If you're coming at me, always. If you come and trying to harm me, you do kick, stones, anything like that, I'm authorized to use the baton,
Okay.
and it's to hit meaty portions of the body to cause you to stop from harming me or others.
And then level 6?
Level is deadly force.
Okay. Are you always moving from level 1 to level 6? Is this always moving through that progression?
Yes, it's fluid. It's fluid nonstop. Depends on what you walk into, what occurs during the situation. It doesn't. It can go from level 1 to level 6, or level 1 to level 4, or 4 back to 1. It's just constantly flowing. It depends on the situation and how whoever you're talking to reacts, pretty much.
Okay. I want to talk about the physical side of your training and experience that you've had with this type of thing.
Okay.
Okay? But before I do that, I want to ask you again about de-escalation. And to make sure, de-escalation. As it relates to that continuum, do you have any goals as it relates to de-escalation? As it relates to this use of force continuum?
You want to keep it as minimal as possible. You don't want anything to escalate.
Okay.
If that's
So
what you're saying.
you want the absence of escalation.
That's correct.
Okay. Let's talk about, when you were with the Coast Guard, did you work with a team of others?
Yes.
Okay. And did you and your team ever do training as it related to these types of use of force continuums and search and seizure and arrest?
We did.
Okay. When would you do those?
It was required, minimally, it was required quarterly, which was 4 times a year. 4 times a year.
Okay.
But we'd have so many people, non-rates, which were E1s to E3s before they made rate, would be our boarding team members. And that during that training that I went to in Charleston, I was also a trainer. I was authorized to teach other Coast Guardsmen how to assist into boardings. So we would have new Coast Guards would come into these boats and stations. So we were constantly training. It was probably minimum once a week, sometimes 2-3 times a week. Sometimes we dedicate a whole week to training.
All right.
And it went from physical levels 1 through 5, simulate 6, obviously. To
would you practice level 1 officer presence?
yes, and that was any time that we were on the water was obviously level 1.
So I guess my question is, would you practice these various levels?
Yes.
Okay. How would you practice some of these levels that start to get into physicality or higher verbal acuity?
In training?
Yeah.
So in training, we would, going into level 4 or whatever, we would actually have a thing called a red man suit. And we would, Fridays usually, we bring everybody together, and then we would teach the techniques of the proper way to do this, because take a baton and strike somebody in the head, that's obviously deadly force. We do not want that to happen, if, God forbid, if that comes to it. So we have to teach, you strike somebody in a meaty portion of the body, how to properly do this stuff, and the best way to do it is to get out there and do it. So we would do red man training, which these guys would exercise this on each other. Level 4, level 5, we would do handcuffs, practicing normal application of handcuffs. And then the entire time, we're also doing level 1 and 2. And if, say, me and you were in a scenario that we built a scenario, it depended on, if you were the boarding officer, how you interacted with me would be how I would interact back with you. So if you came in without another acronym we used was called LEAPS.
Okay. What's LEAPS?
It's called listen, empathize,
How are you spelling?
listen.
Yeah.
No,
I know how you spell listen. I got that one.
Okay.
I got that one. The acronym is
LEAPS.
LEAPS.
Yes, sir.
What's E?
So empathize,
Okay.
ask questions,
Okay.
paraphrase.
All right.
And summarize.
Okay. And you were saying you would use LEAPS in your training?
Yes.
You would teach LEAPS?
Yes.
All right.
And that would go to, you go into a situation and you jump on a boat or a scenario like this that you get somebody that's distraught or very upset. Instead of going in, hey, calm down, I'm here to do this. There's other ways to do it. So, hey, what's going on? What's wrong? What happened? Well, then, say you explain to me what's happened. My dog just died. You go to emphasize, yeah, I've had that happen too. It sucks. I'm sorry that this has happened. It then goes into.
Is it? You're saying empathize.
Mhm.
You said emphasize. Did I mishear? Your empathy, is that what you're talking about? Having empathy with somebody?
Yes.
I wrote down empathize, but you just said emphasize. Maybe it was a slip. Okay, but you're saying you would try to share in one's experience.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then ask questions. Ask what's going on with it. It pretty much de-arming somebody. And calming them down. Because once again, the whole goal is to de-escalate, keep anything from arriving.
All right. So is it that this can lead to de-escalation?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Have you ever had to use officer presence on the job?
Yes, every day.
Okay.
Every day that we were doing it.
Did you ever use verbal command on the job?
Very much so, yes.
Did you use control techniques on the job?
I've had to.
Okay. Did you ever have to use one of your aggressive response techniques, using a baton to hit somebody on the meaty portions of their body?
Never had.
Did you ever have to use intermediate
I did not.
or deadly force?
No.
Did you have any training on hand-to-hand combat?
Yes.
Did you have any training on how to retain your weapon?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
So we carried, there's on regular boardings, if it wasn't, like I said earlier, an HVA or
HVA being
high value asset, which we would stay on the boat. And then we had automatic weapons for that. It's mounted, crew mounted weapons, what they call it. It didn't pertain. But for weapons retention is what we're talking about. We were trained on the personal defense weapon, which is our pistol. We carried an M16, and we also carried an 870 riot shotgun, which is a small 14-inch barrel shotgun.
Okay. And what was the type of training that you had about weapon retention? What was it that you were training one another to do?
It's
Like,
how
it's
to,
kind of obvious, but
yes, it's how to keep your weapon from going into the hands of somebody that's trying to take it from you.
is this something that you would practice?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. What is the concern about not retaining your weapon?
That it would, one, that you would not be able to protect yourself in a deadly force situation, and also that somebody taking a weapon from you would use it on you or others.
Did you ever have any special training with a shotgun?
Yes.
Did it include how to retain it?
Yes.
Okay. Did it include how to use it to de-escalate a situation?
Yes, with any weapon, yeah, it was the same as the other weapons.
And explain that. Explain how do you use a weapon to de-escalate a situation?
So in a situation like we would consider it in a level 1, which was officer's presence. In certain situations, like if you come on a boat and you had unaccounted for personnel, or they call known safety hazards, which would to have your weapon drawn, and sometimes a third eye, which was right here, or it was readily accessible where you didn't have to take it out of the holster. In those situations, that was still level 1 because it was officer presence. You see somebody with that weapon, that's officer presence. And then also, if you had to draw your weapon on someone other than that, was if there was a reasonable possibility that the use of deadly force may be authorized, which was another key component on that.
All right, tell me about that. A reasonable possibility
Yes.
that deadly force, what?
May be authorized.
Okay. And what does that mean to you?
Means, from the trainer we had, that if you go into a situation that you are not aware of, that you don't know if someone's armed or if they have made threats or made threatening gestures, and you have a weapon that's obviously holstered or you don't have it out there, and they come towards you or make these threatening gestures, which was closing the deadly force triangle or the attack triangle, then you are authorized to draw that weapon.
All right.
Which would
what
still
is
be-
the attack triangle?
It's subject's actions, weapon, and opportunity.
Okay. Action, weapon,
Yes.
and opportunity. And how does that work?
So, say a scenario where you have threatened me. So you're threatening me. You put that under subject's actions. Weapon. What we're taught is everybody has a weapon. Hands, fists are a weapon. So in an attack triangle would be you're threatening me. You are close enough to attack, and which is the opportunity, and then obviously you make the threat or you make the gesture that you're going to attack, throw the fist back. That is at that point an attack. The attack triangle is closed, then I can use level, which would be level 4 or level 5 in that situation.
Okay.
And there's also a deadly force triangle, which is subject's actions,
Yes, go ahead.
weapon, and opportunity. And then under weapons, maximum effective range, and if it's readily accessible.
You're talking about range. What do you mean by that?
If you have a baseball bat and you're 50 yards away from me, the weapon is no longer, it doesn't close triangle because the maximum effective range is no longer there. You're not going to harm me with that bat at 50 yards. If you are 50 yards away from me if I could see a gun on you and you're making the threats, the gestures, then deadly forces triangle is closed.
Okay. I asked you earlier if you have ever been trained to use a firearm to de-escalate a situation. Is that something that you have trained to do? To use it to de-escalate, but not to actually shoot somebody with it?
Well, yeah, that was it. Under level 1, doing the having it out of holster, or having the draw down if needed be, if you felt that deadly force may be authorized.
When you say draw down, what do you mean?
To actually have it pointed at you, or at the subject or anybody that is causing the threat, or that may be the threat at that time.
And when you say draw down and point it at somebody, does that mean that you are in fact going to pull the trigger?
The possibility's there, but obviously you're trying to de-escalate the situation. So,
In your experience, can pointing a gun at somebody de-escalate a situation?
yes.
How so?
If pull a gun on someone, we stop. They realize that this is, if it's threat, or if you don't know what's going on in a situation, and you pull a weapon on someone. From what I've learned in my training, that usually that calls people to back off or to realize what's happening, compel compliance.
Outside of your Coast Guard life and your Coast Guard work, did you own and carry firearms?
Yes.
Did you ever have to use those firearms before for protection?
Yes, I have.
All right, can you tell me about that?
One time.
Protection, relevancy.
It's relevant because he is carrying a gun in this case. He is carrying a gun, I believe, through this testimony will establish why. And the fact that he's had experiences with having to do this before informs him and informs the decisions that he makes as a person under these circumstances. So the fact that he's been in situations where he's had to use his gun to protect himself before informs his decisions on also February 23rd.
Relevance
Yeah, it's
to
sustained.
what he did under these circumstances.
You're
The
talking about
jury's-
something. You're talking about something he was doing in the Coast Guard.
No, I'm talking about him as a private citizen where he's been out with a firearm, carrying a firearm before, where he's had to use it to protect himself.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could take a step into the jury room, please.
It's all right for the jury. Please be seated.
All right. I was following it as part of his Coast Guard training and experience. You're talking about something different?
Yeah, I transitioned, Judge. You may not have heard me. I said, all right, now I want to talk about outside of the Coast Guard, not law enforcement, Coast Guard, but you just in your regular life outside of Coast Guard. You own a firearm, you carry firearms, and have you ever had to use a firearm to protect yourself before? Outside of the Coast Guard, and just as a regular citizen.
Is it ever reported, or, I mean, give me a proffer.
Oh, he will testify that he's had two circumstances where a person has come up to him, one at an ATM, where he had to go towards his gun, and it had the effect that he wanted on the person. They ran away, it deterred them. And the second, he was sitting in his car, and a gentleman tried to carjack him, and he had to retrieve his gun and take it out, and it deterred the person, and the person ran away. This has now then informed him of how using his gun can de-escalate situations in his private citizen life as well, and that it can have that effect that ultimately, can de-escalate the situation and protect himself.
From the state.
Well, neither of these instances involved the victim in this particular case. The fact that some guy came up to him at the ATM and I'm not clear on what he did with his gun, pointed it at this person or did something else, and being carjacked, I'm unaware of any police report where he reported he'd been carjacked at all. So I'm not sure if there's a 911 call here that we don't have access to, or some police report that we've not been given regarding this. The state is unaware of both of these instances. And it's not really relevant to the reasonableness analysis that the jurors are going to have to make as far as... So in the past, when I've been robbed at an ATM or carjacked by someone, I defended myself with my handgun. So it's okay for me to pull a handgun out while I'm trying to force compliance for someone to talk to me? They're totally not equal on any level whatsoever. So I'm not sure about the relevance or how it comes into play in this case.
Well, it sounds like it's something that may be addressed on cross-examination. I'll go ahead and permit it.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. We can go get the panel. Thank you.
seated.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready to get back to the evidence. Mr. Sheffield.
Yes, thank you. We were talking a little bit about now moving away from Coast Guard duty and just being a citizen here. Do you own firearms?
I do.
Okay. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to use your personal firearm to protect yourself?
I have.
Okay. Oh, Travis, yeah, put that.
Thank you. Sorry.
Can you tell us a little bit about the circumstances of the first time?
Yes. So I was living in Pascagoula, Mississippi. I was stationed in Mississippi at the time. It was 2008 to 2012. I believe it was 2008 when it happened. Pascagoula got destroyed by Katrina, so there's a bunch of vacant lots and everything. One of them was a bank, and the bank was gone, but they had the ATM machine still in the vacant lot. It's next to the gas station. Coming through to get cash for, I think it was for the lunch for the station. I pull in, I see two younger males next to the side. Thought it was a little weird that they're paying attention to me and been paying attention to people going in and out near there. So I stepped out of the truck and went to the ATM. As soon as I went to the ATM...
Stop you. Did you have a gun on you at the time?
I did.
What kind of gun was it?
It was a 1911 U.S. Army service pistol.
Did you have a permit or a license to carry?
Yes, I had a concealed carry permit, and it was a concealed weapon.
Okay.
Everything.
All right, so you're at the ATM. What happened?
Yep, and as soon as I put my card in, the two males approached on either side. One of them told me to give me his money. All I did was pull up my shirt and showed that I had a weapon, and they turned and jumped the fence and was gone.
Okay.
I pulled the money out and went to work.
Okay. Did you call the police or report it?
I didn't call the police on that.
Okay.
That was it.
All right. What is the second time that you had to use your gun? I say use your gun. That time you didn't really have to use it, just showed it.
No, I just showed it. The second one was in Pascagoula as well. It was in 2011. And I was going into work. We had a high value asset coming in. So I was coming in at 8 o'clock. And road I was coming in on was destroyed by Katrina. It was real dark. Everything was, it was an industrial side of town. And we stopped at a red light, had the windows down in the truck, and sitting at the red light, listening to the music on the radio, somebody came to the passenger door and popped the lock and was opening the door on me.
Let me stop you. Popping the lock meaning was the window down?
The window was down. He just popped it. It was a
Okay.
GMC, so it was right there. He popped it open.
All right.
And opened the door and started yelling. I was getting in the truck. So
What you said he started yelling?
yes, I don't know what he was saying, but it was he was yelling.
Okay.
And so I had the pistol between I had a holster between my seats, and I pulled the pistol out and pointed at him, told him to get out of my truck. He got out and ran off. Got to the station, and we had 3 reservists that were actually with the police department there. Told about it, and I believe we had a report made on it.
Okay. All right. All right. I want to focus your attention back to Satilla Shores.
Okay.
Was there ever a time that you yourself tried to figure out if any particular person was involved in some of the crime that had been happening over that summer in 2019?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about that circumstance?
Yeah, so around, I believe it was July, 1st of July, my neighbor at the time, Kim Ballesteros, she had her purse stolen, or told us that her purse stolen out of her vehicle. And so we neighbors talked about it. Yeah, this is something else has happened. A few days later, a week or so later, I was coming back from a fishing trip. I have a boat doing charters on the side, and I was actually coming back to my house with some clients on Fancy Bluff Creek. Do you have a?
I do have a map here.
Yes, so
I have this up already. Fancy Bluff Creek.
Yep, under the bridge, the Highway 17 bridge. Yep, we got under there.
I'm just going to pull this back too. The state has a similar exhibit that they've used. This being the Google Earth image.
Okay. So yes, I was coming from the north and coming back down towards till Fancy Bluff to.
You were where?
where your finger is.
On the water.
On the water,
Okay.
in my boat, yes.
Okay.
And got under the bridge and saw a bunch of trash, tarps, and there was an old tackle box down there, and just a bunch of trash under the bridge. So this looks like a homeless camp, and it's very close to the neighborhood. There's a trail that goes to it, actually. Drove on by and started thinking that neighbor just had a purse stolen, so let me check this out. This might be this homeless person, or if there is homeless people in there, these might be the ones going into the neighborhood. So got home, finished with the client.
So let me stop you there. When you say you got home, we don't see it on this map here, but does this connect coming up around over onto this side?
It does, yes. Fancy Bluff Creek joins Little Satilla south of the neighborhood.
Okay. So you boated around back to your dock?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So got back, finished with the clients, and told my father that, hey, looks like there's a homeless camp under the bridge. This purse was just stolen. I want to go see if there's anybody down there. I said, I'll join you. So we get in my truck. I carry a weapon everywhere. I got a concealed weapon, so I was armed. I'm not sure if my dad was or not. There was a trail. First, we tried on the neighborhood side of the road.
All right. So that being this side over here.
It probably, if you look at the
Was there any
satellite
access point to drive over here?
There's a power line that parallels the highway between the neighborhood and the highway. It's an overgrown road, or it's an overgrown field.
Okay.
We couldn't get to it from there. There's rocks and stuff. It's just too bad. So I drove across Highway 17 onto Fancy Bluff Road,
Okay.
and then there's a little four-wheeler trail.
So Satilla Drive comes across 17.
It does.
Is that Fancy Bluff up here?
I believe it is.
Okay.
I believe it is.
All right.
And then there's a wooded lot right directly across, and there's a four-wheeler trail that parallels the highway there.
Okay. What did you do?
So me and Dad walked down the four-wheeler trail. He's behind me, and it goes down, kind of meanders around a couple trees, and it gets to the creek, makes a right, and it goes under the bridge. So I turn, go down the bridge. I don't see anybody, and then get under the northbound lane and see someone fishing right at the bank. And he had a machete, I guess, a real long knife. It wasn't a fillet knife, it was like a machete right next to him. He doesn't see me. I walk on, but get between him and the knife, and
All
then
right, let me stop you there.
Mhm.
As you're doing this, you're going down there with your sidearm. How is it that you feel comfortable going down there to inspect the situation?
I didn't see any threat. There was no threat. Yeah, I didn't see anybody down there, and if I did, then I would talk to him. Just
All right.
talk to him.
So what happened?
So I get to him. I get between him and his knife.
Why did you do that?
For safety.
Okay.
Just for safety. And they talked to him. I said, "How you doing?" And he's a friendly guy. And I asked him if he's living down the bridge. He told us that he wasn't. He told us that he was living on a road off of Fancy Bluff Road in the neighborhood. I don't remember what the road was. And I told him, I said, straight up, there's a bunch of stuff being stolen in this neighborhood. I'm seeing if there's anything down here. He said, no, I haven't seen anything. Okay. We looked around. I think my dad looked at some of the tarps. He said it wasn't his stuff. I'm certain that he was living under that bridge. We didn't see anything.
When you
left.
say you didn't see anything, what were you looking for?
I was just looking for if there was any purses or if there was any equipment, anything that obviously would, if you see boat motors or tackle boxes or anything, purses, anything that's just
Okay.
it would be odd. I wouldn't pick it up and take it. What we did as soon as we left, my dad called the non-emergency number and informed the police. They were aware, obviously, of what's been going on in the neighborhood and told them, hey, there's a homeless person on this bridge. Check it out for us.
All right, I'm going to stop you there. And just to be sure we're on the same page.
Good Brunswick Communications Operator 924, how may I assist you?
Hey, this is Greg McMichael. I'm the chief executive of the DA's office. Is there anybody supervisor available I might be able to speak to?
Sure, just a moment. And are you talking the dispatch supervisor or police supervisor?
Police supervisor, yeah. Anybody on duty would be fine.
Okay.
I wanted to make them aware.
Okay, and all right, and what was your name?
Greg McMichael.
Okay, and a contact number for you?
912-217-1726. They can call me back if
Okay, and your address, sir?
230 Satilla Drive. We've had a lot of break-ins in this area out here, automobile break-ins. And my son and I just discovered a guy. We think he may be living under the Bluff Creek Bridge on 17.
Yes.
Okay. Did you discuss this finding of sorts, this person that you thought living under the bridge, did you discuss it with anybody else in the neighborhood?
I did.
Who did you discuss with, if you can remember?
No Randy Parr, my direct neighbor. I'm sure I've spoken to Matt Albenzi when he stopped by, and then there's another guy down the road, older fella. I cannot remember his name.
Okay,
But
all right. Do you know whether or not the subject of someone living under the Fancy Bluff Bridge being a suspect of things happening in the neighborhood, whether that subject came up any more over the course of the next 5 or 6 months?
Yeah, there was people. It was always there. You know, it was always in the back of people's mind, or something happened. You would see it on the Facebook neighborhood page of a homeless person. There's been a homeless person around. You know, that was from that moment forward. People knew that there was a homeless person under that bridge. So.
Okay. All right. Now I want to ask you about 220 Satilla Drive.
Okay.
All right. Did you ever hear anything about thefts or things being stolen from 220?
I did.
When did you hear that?
The first was from my mother.
Okay.
And then she heard it from someone or saw it on Facebook and told it to me. And then I started seeing it on the Facebook page.
Okay. Did you speak to anybody other than your mother?
At first, no.
Okay. Did you ever talk to Diego Perez about it?
No, not until February 11th.
Okay, all right. But in terms of what was it that you understood was stolen from 220?
From my mother, and I heard that there was equipment stolen off a boat.
Located where?
In the house, in 220 Still Drive.
Okay. Do you know if you ever spoke to Matt Albenzi about it?
We've talked about it, but we just talked about it. Like I said, it wasn't in great detail. He just said, "Hey, there's been stuff stolen out of that house, out of that boat." I said, "Yeah,
Did you know of the man who lived or who was building 220 Satilla?
I met him once, but I didn't know him.
Did you know anything about him, about whether he was living on the property or
I knew that he stayed on the property on weekends and stuff like that. When I first met him, he had a camper in the backyard, and from my understanding he was working on the house himself, and he'd spend weekends or sometimes a week there, and he would stay at that house or at that camper. He wasn't living in the house that he was building at the time. He was living right behind it, or staying right behind it when he was on property.
Okay, so just sort of generally speaking, you had learned that boat equipment was stolen, and that the owner was living on a camper on the property on weekends.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Did you ever investigate anything about 220 Satilla in 2019?
No.
Okay. Go in there, search the residence, do any kind of follow-up on stolen goods or anything like that?
No.
Did you ever speak to Larry English in 2019 about his stolen property?
I did not.
Okay. Or ask him if you could help him catch whoever had stolen his property?
No.
Okay. In 2020, were you the victim of crime?
I was.
All right. When was that?
January 1st.
Okay, what happened?
I had a pistol stolen out of my truck.
What kind of gun was it?
It was a Smith & Wesson M&P 9C,
Okay.
smaller.
All right.
steel pistol.
And that was when?
January 1st, New Year's.
Okay. Do you know the circumstances of how it was stolen?
Yes, I was. My dad moved the vehicle for me, moved the vehicle that morning between 9 to 11, 9:30, 11:30, somewhere around there. He moved it close to the side of the road to the adjacent property, right on the road. I came out about 11:45 to go somewhere, opened the truck. The door was unlocked. I don't know if he left the vehicle unlocked or if I left it unlocked that evening, and saw that my holster was sitting in the seat. Went back in and asked my dad if he moved my gun, being that he was in that driver's seat where the holster was. He said he did not. So I looked around the house, made sure that I didn't misplace the pistol for some unknown reason. It came to the conclusion that my pistol was stolen and called and made a report on it.
Okay, you said you called. Who'd you call?
I called the Glenn County Police Department, non-emergency.
Okay.
It may have been, I called the police department.
I'm going to play States Exhibit 161.
Glenn Brothers Communications, operator 915.
Hey, yes, I need a police officer. I got a report of I need a report of stolen stuff.
You what, sir?
I need a police officer. I need to report a stolen pistol.
Okay, and what's the address it was stolen from?
230 Satilla Drive.
That's 230 Satilla Drive, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the call? Yes. Okay. No other pistol stolen from you. That's the only one.
That's the only one.
Okay. Were you concerned at all about the theft of your gun?
Yes.
Okay. Why?
Well, one, I don't know who has the weapon. Having it stolen out of my truck, I don't know who's got it. I don't know if they know anything, what they're doing with the gun. They might harm themselves or use it to harm someone else or use it for a crime or who knows.
Did you hear of other reports of guns being stolen in the neighborhood?
Yes.
Do you know essentially what it was that you were hearing?
Oh, I've heard of several vehicles being broken into and pistols or guns stolen out of those vehicles. Don't know the addresses, but it was common talk around the neighborhood.
Okay. At this time, we're moving into January of 2020. Now, no longer the fall of 2019. We haven't really discussed whether or not the crime in the neighborhood was continuing or on the rise. Can you give us a little bit of your understanding of what the level of crime was around this time and across October, November, December?
Yeah, so it was steady, I guess would be the best way to explain it. It was steady. The house on 220 around October was when it was apparent when you were hearing that Mr. English had stuff stolen out of his boat out of there, expensive stuff, and he put a surveillance system up, and they were catching people going into the house.
How did you learn about the surveillance system?
Once again, from my parents and hearing from it on Facebook.
Okay, parents and Facebook.
Yeah.
All right.
And neighbors. Mr. Albenzi told me, he said that they had somebody in there. He saw him on the camera, but that's as far as I remember that.
At this point in January of 2020, we've got crime in the neighborhood, okay? We've got suspicion in the neighborhood. At this point, had that at all begun to narrow into a particular person?
It was starting to, yes. Having the point the 220s constantly being broken into, and then they have videos of people. Now I was starting to think, all right, there may be somebody or a pair of people that are constant. That is the one that's continuing to come into this neighborhood.
All right.
Instead of random acts of burglary.
Okay. Did you have any experience yourself with 220 Satilla?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us when that was?
It was on February 11th,
Okay.
around 7:30 in the evening.
All right. Tell us what you were doing on February 11th around 7:30 in the evening.
All right. Just finished eating dinner. Decided to go fill up my work car.
Which is?
That was a little Volkswagen Jetta, 04, 05, somewhere around there. Instead of having to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to fill it up, I just fill it up in the evening, come back, and be done with it. Left the house, turned on Satilla Drive, and started heading out of the neighborhood.
All right, stop there. Do you see where your house is approximately on this map? Is this in y'all's way? It's not. It might be for one of them. Let me move this forward. Just a touch. Can you lean forward and see it?
Yeah.
Your house is
So, yes, that's
one of
it.
these.
That's it.
Here.
Yep.
Okay. All right. You were here.
Yep.
Where did you go?
I came out, turned on Satilla, take a left.
Okay.
Yep. And then made it to about where the S is on Satilla Drive.
Okay.
Right there.
All right. What did you said you made it to about there, and then what?
So as I'm driving down the neighborhood, I see someone run across the street.
All right. From what side to what side?
Came from the.
So here you are, down here. You're saying you're coming up Satilla.
Yeah,
You
right
make it
there.
to about the S.
Mhm.
And what do you see?
I see someone run from the right side to the left side.
This side?
Yep.
Okay.
Actually, I'll tell you where.
Yep, go ahead.
Go up to the next house. Between
Yep.
those two houses, right there.
Right here.
Yep, and ran directly across the street,
Okay.
and then into the yard that was there.
How far back into the yard?
I didn't see them until I went further up, so they went out of sight.
Okay, you
Once
come
I got-
further up.
Once I got to Jones, the house, yep, Senator Jones,
Okay.
the house went up from 220.
Okay,
Back
here?
in there, yes.
This house here. This
Uh,
is this 220 here?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
So that house there that you put the X on,
Yes.
at the furthest corner away, which
Here?
was where the driveway was, I saw that individual that ran across the road was was right there at their bushes, running across their driveway.
When you say bushes, do you mean bushes down here by the road?
No, close to the house.
Okay, bushes close to the house.
It's a Spanish-style house, so they have like a terrace or a open veranda in the front.
In front,
And
little
there's
courtyard?
Yeah, courtyard. So
And where did you see this person go when they crossed the street?
I lost sight of him until I saw him right at the driveway of that house.
Okay.
So yeah, obviously that was the path that he'd taken.
And how far back off the road was this person, would you estimate?
He was close to the house, so probably 20, 30 feet.
All right, so this distance being 20 to 30 feet off the road.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Did you see anything else?
Yeah, so I don't have my lights on him. I don't have my lights on him at the time.
Yeah.
But as I'm coming out, I've come to a stop at this point, and he is staying in the shadows, obviously trying to avoid being detected. Detected. He's, lack of better term, was lurking. He was creeping. Wasn't in a run. It was just creeping through the shadows. You know, if there's a shadow running through here, he'd run with it and then go to it, and he was staying close to the house.
Okay.
I said, what's going on here? So I stopped. I was right at Jones Till, and I backed my vehicle up to him, turning onto that house.
You said you backed your vehicle up to him. What do you mean?
Or, I'm sorry, I was putting the back side of my vehicle up Jones, and as I was doing, I was swinging my lights
Okay.
on him when he was in front of that house at that time.
Is this kind of accurately depicting what we're talking about?
Yes.
This being your car?
That's correct.
Okay.
And then I'm swinging it as he's coming to 220.
He's moving this way?
Yep.
Okay.
So there was a tree between 220 and that house, and it was real close to the corner of that house. He went between that, stayed in the shadows there, And then I stopped, and it was obvious that he was aware that I caught him, have put the lights on him.
Okay.
So he comes out of the shadows, gets into a walk, just kind of stands up, and then run like a jog almost into the shadow that the portalet was making.
Where's the porta potty?
Portalet was on the corner of 220.
Okay.
Between or at that corner of that house.
We've seen some pictures of it in
That's where it
evidence.
was.
Is that the same portalet?
That same portalet, or same spot.
All right. Okay, go ahead. So what happens when he goes towards the portalet?
So he's 20 or 30 feet behind the portalet, coming from that house. This is, again, obviously, he's aware that I am aware that he's there. Had lights on him. I get out of the vehicle. It's a standard car, so I put it in parking brake on. Step out of the vehicle and was going to ask him what he's
Sorry,
doing.
what do you mean by standard car?
It's a stick shift.
Okay,
Stick
go ahead.
shift. I get out of the vehicle. He's trotting to me
All right, stop. Why are you getting out of the vehicle?
to see what he's doing, to ask him what he's doing, maybe run him off.
Okay,
I haven't seen him before.
okay.
At all.
Did he wave at you?
No, he didn't.
Did he try to talk to you?
No, he didn't.
Like,
That's
I
what I
lost
was
my
thinking.
dog or anything like that?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so what happens? You step out?
I step out to ask him, to see what's going on, to get an idea what's happening. As he comes out of the shadows from behind that portalet, he comes directly to me. I'm out of the door, and he comes out and he pulls up his shirt and goes to reach in his pocket or waistband area, going for his pocket. I thought it was pocket at first, but later on it didn't make sense, because if you're going to reach for your pocket, you would go for the pocket that's on whichever side you're on.
Okay.
He reaches like this.
So what happened at that moment?
It freaked me out. So once I realized what's going on, that he is doing this, and I'm under assumption that he's armed, I jump back in the vehicle. He turns around and runs into the house.
Okay.
Into the 220, the house at 220.
All right. So from the porta potty,
Mm-hmm.
coming forward, then he goes into the house.
Yeah, he stopped, and once I jump back into my vehicle, he just turns and goes into the house.
All right.
Runs. It wasn't like a full sprint. It was, he's gone, let me continue what I'm doing.
Okay.
Kind
What
of.
did you do at that moment?
Well, it startled me. It freaked me out. So I don't know if I had my phone in the vehicle or not. It wasn't there. I didn't have a gun on me. He's gone. I'm just getting the hell out of there. I just wanted to leave, make sure, because I don't know where he's at this point. I go to jump in the car to take off to the house. I forget the parking brake's on. I stall the vehicle out, crank the car back up, and get to turn and go back to my home.
Okay. What did you do once you got to your home?
Once I got home, I believe my dad was in the garage, or the garage door was open.
Okay.
Or may have been in the kitchen. I told him what just happened, and I had two phones, had my regular phone and my work phone, and best I could remember what I was doing was going to grab a phone. Well, I told Dad, I said, hey, there's somebody, I just caught somebody lurking at the neighbor house and just went into 220. So he comes out, and I'm assuming is armed, and goes down the road.
Okay, hold on. Let me stop you there. When did you call the police?
I did.
All right.
Yeah.
Where are you when your dad starts to walk down the street?
I was at my vehicle. I was in the driveway.
Okay. Did you say anything to your dad?
Yeah, I told him to wait. I said,
Why?
hold on a second. I don't know what's happening. I'm assuming this guy's armed. And Dad, he had a stroke a couple months earlier, 2-3 months earlier, and which everything's fine, but you're concerned about him. If somebody,
Does he have any other health issues?
Yeah, he's got a busted hip, or he actually had a total hip replacement, and he's had a couple heart attacks. And
okay. So you say, Dad, wait.
Yeah, wait, and he's walking on down the road. He's going on down the road.
All right. What do you do?
So I go in, grab the keys to my truck, and grab one of my guns, which was at the safe, which was in the garage right there. Get out, get down to the road where Dad is. I'm calling 911 at the time. By the time the operator picks up, I pull up to 220. And at that time, my father, and I wasn't aware who it was at the time, another neighbor Dad was interacting with. I didn't know who it was. It ended up being Diego Perez.
All right. I'm going to pause you there.
Okay.
And let me pull up. Exhibit 163.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
It's Attila Drive, 230 Attila Drive.
What's going on?
We've had a string of burglaries. I was leaving the neighborhood, and I just caught a guy running into a house being built 2 houses down from me.
Do you hear the way you sound?
Yes.
What are we hearing?
I was still scared. I was breathing heavy. I was still alarmed, I guess, would be the best way to explain it.
When I turned around, he took off running into the house.
Okay. What did he look like?
It's a black male, red shirt, white shorts.
And you said the house was being built?
It's being built, yes ma'am. It's vacant right now. He is in the house.
Tell the 911 operator that you had a string of burglaries happening in the neighborhood.
Well, that was apparent. And then I guess going into it that him going into that house, and then knowing that that house has been the one that's been breaking in and everything's been stolen, or stuff's been stolen in there, that there's a connection to this. And I think that's why.
What did you think he might be doing in the house that night?
I think he was going back and stealing, breaking in, burglarizing.
What's your name and phone number, sir?
Travis McMichael, 912-423-1374.
All right. Where are you at now?
And that's you breathing?
That was me breathing, yes.
Right across the street in my truck, watching the house with it right now, right here at the
Okay.
So you say you're sitting in your truck and you're watching the house. What does that mean?
So, like I said, my dad was on down there by the time I got my phone and called 911. It was just a second to get there. You heard me whistle right there. I saw the police coming, and I was trying to get attention to my father, and it turned out to be Diego, to say, hey, the police are right here. I don't want anything to happen, then think that they were the ones breaking in.
All right, stop. Did you go in the house?
I did not.
Why not?
Because I didn't know. I lost sight of the individual that just went in there, and he acted like he may have been armed. I'm not going to follow him in there. I'm not going to chase or investigate somebody that may be armed, and I don't have any reason to go into that house.
Well, what about your dad and this other fellow that's out there?
I don't know why they were armed, but I don't know why that they decided to do that.
Were you concerned?
I was.
About what?
About them going in there and running across someone that intends to do harm or would try to harm them.
All right, so you're outside the house, sitting there on the phone, lights on the house.
Yes.
Okay.
What kind of truck are you in?
A red Ford F-150.
Okay. Are you okay?
Yeah. It just startled me. When I turned around and saw him and backed up, he reached into his pocket and ran into the house. So I don't know if he's armed or not, but he looked like he was acting like he was. So, be mindful of that.
Okay. Which pocket did he reach into?
Left, I believe.
All right, so be mindful of that. Again, may be obvious, but what is it that you're trying to communicate?
That the person that I just had this interaction with, possibility is armed and is obviously willing to use it if that was the case.
Well, why are you telling the 911 call center operator to be mindful of that?
So the police that show up on scene would come in knowing what they're possibly walking into.
Okay. And now, so 230 is the vacant lot address?
It's my address. I do not
It's your address?
It's probably
Okay.
8 or 226,
Maybe 226.
possibly.
And how many houses down is it from yours?
It's 2 towards the highway.
Continue.
I guess he doesn't realize we're here. He's got the damn lights on right now. He's got a flashlight going through the house.
Does he? Okay.
So you're now surmising that the person that you saw go in the house has a flashlight now.
Yes.
All right. Did you come to understand that that was not what you thought?
It wasn't. No, it was. It was our neighbor Diego.
Okay.
It was.
All right. Did they ever see or talk to or catch the person that had entered the house that night?
No, they did not.
Okay. Excuse me. All right. On that night, did you meet with the police ultimately?
Yes, I stayed where we were, and then when they arrived on scene, I stayed with.
All right. Do you remember the name of the officer you met with?
One was Officer Rash.
Okay. And who else was out there? I think you said your dad.
Yes, my dad was out there. The neighbor
Diego was out there.
Diego.
All right. Did anybody else show up that night?
That I spoke to, seeing the video, obviously, Ronnie Olson came out there. I think I spoke to him, but then I spoke to Matt Albenzi.
All right. But were you aware that Ronnie was there?
Yes.
Okay. And you said Matt Albenzi. Anybody else that you were aware was there? And I mean that night, not after watching the video, the body cam video.
I spoke to another neighbor, Brandon Gregory, right after it happened when I was leaving.
All right. And who is Brandon Gregory?
He's a neighbor. I think he lives on Zellwood. He's also at the time, I'm not sure if he is or not anymore, but a police officer. Works with Clinton County Police Officer.
With what?
Clinton County Police Department.
Oh, okay.
And he just was coming home. He wasn't involved with it.
Okay. All right. You said that you talked to Officer Rash?
Yes.
All right. Did Officer Rash show you anything?
Yes, after everything was done, he showed me the video of what occurred, just what I witnessed and called 911 on.
The video of what?
Of the individual going into the house.
So from running from the portalet into the house.
Yes.
He's now showing you the video of this person inside the house.
Inside the house, yep.
Okay. And did you watch the video?
I did.
Was there anything about the video that made you feel anything whatsoever?
Yeah, so having that experience where I just said that, with him or acting like he was drawing the weapon and then running into the house, and then seeing the video that he's walking around so nonchalant in that house, kind of, it startled me a little bit that having that just happen, just catching him creeping through that front yard and obviously trying to avoid detection, and then doing what he did there, and then going into the house, and then walking around in there like it's no big deal was alarming.
Alarming why?
Because I wouldn't think anyone acting normal would do that, and somebody that's willing to act like they have a gun or act like that they will harm you to prevent you from asking them or doing anything there, and then go in and just acting all normal and nonchalant and never catching the guy, knowing what he's doing, it just sets off the alarms for me.
Okay.
It's just bold. It's just very.
You said bold.
Yeah, it's just the way that he's acting is just very. It's a bold move.
Did you learn about, you had mentioned already that you were aware of some boat equipment being stolen back in October or from the house. Did you learn or did you see any of the other videos of 220 that night?
I think I saw some stills, I believe.
Some stills of what?
It was the first time I saw it. It was one of, I believe it was Mr. Arbery on the dock.
Okay. All right. All right. Any other ones?
I can't recall which ones were others. I think they did show another one of him walking around in the evening time.
Okay.
But I was told for the first time that it was the same guy that has been in that house several times.
Okay. Again, the question I asked you about January 1st, now moving to February 11th. In your mind, the idea of crime happening in the neighborhood, things being stolen, had you at all funneled that even further into trying to determine who may be responsible for some of the crime in the neighborhood?
At that point, yes, it did.
Or who was responsible for stealing the boat equipment from 220?
Yes.
All right. Did you draw any conclusions about who that might be?
I did.
All right. Who did you think it was?
I was thinking it was the person I just had the encounter with that evening on February 11th.
Okay. And what is it that you think he was doing in 220?
I thought that he was breaking back in and was going to steal some more stuff.
After that night, did you talk with anybody else in the neighborhood just about crime?
A couple of days later, I'm sure that I know that me and Matt Albenzi talked about that evening. If you heard anything like that, and I spoke to Diego Perez also. Same kind of conversation. Just if he heard any more about it, anything like that.
Okay. Okay. I want to move into February 23rd.
Short recess then. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and take a 15-minute recess, and we'll bring you back for a continuation of the evidence.
So, rise for the jury, please. Please seated.
All right. Let's take 15 minutes. You can go ahead and step down.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
we can start.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We got the defendants present, represented by counsel. Kept an eye on juror number 12 during the examination. I'm going to move her closer to the bailiff so that if she is struggling at all, she can stand up and do whatever she needs to do to ensure that she is not struggling. I made eye contact with her a number of times and did note that she was struggling. I will note, though, she didn't fall asleep, but that was not the issue, but it did look like she was having problems. And hopefully, by moving her this afternoon, we'll remedy that, and it will not be an issue for the parties or for the court. You going to give her a flask, Mr. Sheffield?
Sorry.
You give her a flask.
Slowly adding up the number of fingers that will be
Last this evening.
Oh, sorry, not flat, carafe, I should have said.
This is the best coffee cup because it drinks on all sides. Throw it anywhere. Stays hot all day long. It's called Chantal.
You just made a friend somewhere.
Oh,
The plug.
Chantal.
The plug.
Apparently somebody's earning royalties.
I wish it was us. It's not.
Not sponsored.
It's all right for a jury.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready to proceed, I believe, once we have a little meeting over here. No, we've got three. We're good. We're good. Yep, I got numbers. We're all set. All right, Mr. Sheffield. There's been a little.
All right.
We're back.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ron. Okay, Travis, I want to move to February 23rd. Okay. Let's start with where you were when your dad came in, the house. Okay. Where were you at that time? At that moment?
I was in the living room. I was trying to get my son to take a nap.
Okay. Who were you with?
I had my son on my chest, obviously, and my mother was in there, and I think my sister was in there as well.
Okay. Did your dad come in?
He did.
All right. What did you notice about your dad when he came in?
He came through the kitchen, the back kitchen door that leads to the garage, and he was in a almost frantic state. He came in, like I said earlier, he's had hip surgery, he's had a stroke, so him going at a fast pace is kind of a rare thing, and he was moving pretty quick coming in.
Did he say anything to you?
Yeah, he said, Travis, the guy that has been breaking in down the road just ran by the house. Something's happened.
The guy.
The guy.
Did you know who he meant by the guy?
I was under assumption that it was the same individual that I saw on the 11th.
Okay.
Because he was down there as well. Saw the same video.
Because who was down there as well?
My father was down there as well on the 11th and saw the same video and talked to Mr. Officer Rash with me as well. So I was under the assumption that it was the same guy from the 11th as who he's speaking of that just ran by.
All right. So he comes in. The guy who's been breaking in down the street is back.
Yes.
Okay. Then what?
Yes. So he ran off. I think he told me to grab my gun.
Okay.
He said something's happening. Grab your gun. So I went to my room, which is the door is to the living room that I was in, and the first firearm that I had that was easily accessible because I had my son that week. My pistols were in the safe and everything. Was my shotgun. I just cleaned it, or I had it out for something. So I grabbed the shotgun.
Okay.
And walked out. Went out through the kitchen door to the driveway where my truck was.
Okay. So I'm about to use a permanent marker. So you come out of your house. You can come from that. You come out of your house, and you come out where?
I came out and went to the driveway, to the end of the driveway, because my truck was at the very end. I think the boat was in the driveway.
All right. So you come out.
Yep.
What do you do first?
So I went to the driver's side. Or when I came out, Dad went into his bedroom, so I was by myself when I came out. I came out to see what was going on. I looked, obviously, out of the driveway or out of the garage. Didn't see anything, and then went to the end of the road to where my truck was.
Okay.
I looked down to the right.
Down back in which direction?
Into the neighborhood, towards Burford and Holmes.
Okay, so you
first.
looked this way.
Yes.
All right.
And then I looked back down Satilla, where 220, where the house that has been having stuff stolen and I saw the guy run into was down there. I looked down there and I saw my neighbor Matt Albenzi in the road.
All right. Where was Matt?
Matt was on Satilla Drive. I thought he was right adjacent to the property there.
What property?
To the 220.
Okay. So Matt Albenzi was up this way. Okay. Yeah. And what did you see or say or do?
So I came out when I saw Matt. I was right at the truck. So when I saw Matt down the road, he saw me and he pointed down the road, pointed down towards Burford and Satilla and Holmes towards me.
Did you see him point?
I did.
Where were you standing when you saw it?
I was right at the corner of the driveway and Satilla Drive. We have a group of mailboxes right there, and I was just on the inside of those mailboxes.
Okay, and he pointed in what direction?
Towards me, down Satilla Drive.
Okay, pointing this way towards Burford?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What did you think when you saw that?
At that moment, having Dad saying the guy that just ran by the house, the guy that been breaking into the house down the road, just ran by the house. I came out, didn't see him, and then saw Matt Albenzi, who was on scene on February 11th, who also saw the video and has seen videos that we've talked about,
sure,
pointing down the road. I thought it was reasonable that, okay, there's something to this. This guy may have just ran by. Matt may have just seen him, either caught him breaking in, stealing something, or the guy that owns the property that stays in the camper might be on property and just startled him, or God forbid, maybe there may have been an altercation or something happened.
Okay. May have seen, may have broken in. Okay. So what did you do?
So at that time, my dad came out of the house through the garage as well, and he told me he ran down the road. He pointed towards Burford.
Told you who ran down
my father told me the guy from the other night, which turned out to be Mr. Arbery. But he said the guy that just ran down Satilla.
Go ahead.
So he said, get in the truck, let's go down there.
Okay.
So, okay.
Your dad is communicating to you. He says, get in the truck.
Yes,
Okay. You said you had a shotgun.
I did.
Where did you put your shotgun?
I put it right between, it was a brand new truck, so it had vinyl seats. It's a 46, it's a bench seat, it's a work truck. And what I would usually do if I'm out in the woods or if I have a long gun with me is I'd put it between the seats. There's a crease between the two seats split.
Okay,
So
it's the bench seat.
it is.
But there's a crease.
Yeah, so there's 3 different seats, but they're all across, and I just put my shotgun or rifle or whatever
Okay.
right there.
All right. And where's the muzzle?
The muzzle is down to the floorboard, touching the floorboard by the gas pedal.
All right. And where's the butt of the gun?
The butt of the gun, being that was a shorter shotgun, if y'all can see for a minute here, if I'm sitting in the seat, the butt would be about right here. Right
Where
there.
did your dad get in the car?
So Dad, I had a car seat in the truck at the time. It was a regular cab pickup. And,
All right, stop there.
okay.
I've shown the statement I marked as Travis McMichael Exhibit 14 for identification. Approach.
Yes.
I'm going to show you. Travis McMichael 14 for identification. Do you recognize it?
Yes.
What is it?
That is looking in the interior of my truck at the time with my son's car seat in the passenger seat.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the car seat in your truck?
Very, very much so, yes.
Move to admit Defense Exhibit 14.
No objection.
Now publish.
Go ahead.
All right, so I'm showing you Defense 14. We're taking a look here. Obviously, this is the car seat we're talking about.
Yeah, same car seat.
Okay. All right. So where is your dad
He is stuffed in the car seat. He's kind of got half of him in the car seat, and the car seat. He's kind of angled in it like this. He's stuffed. The best term to say he's stuffed in that car seat right there in the passenger side.
And what is he saying to you, if anything?
I think he was cussing about the car seat, trying to get in the car seat. And I just started driving. At that point,
Which way are you driving?
I turn out and head towards Burford.
Okay. And what are you doing driving in that direction?
I'm trying to find out what's going on. I'm trying to analyze the whole situation, but looking for whoever it was that ran by. I haven't made any eye contact at the time. But
Have you personally determined who it was that ran by?
no, I did not.
Have you accepted what your dad has said, that this is in fact the guy?
I assumed that he was correct, but I wanted to verify.
Okay, so you said you started heading towards Burford.
Yes.
All right. Now we're towards Burford. What do you do, or what do you see?
Sometime before Burford, or as we're going, I asked my father. I said, "Did you call the cops, or the cops on the way?" I'm not sure exactly what I said. I think I said, "Did you call the cops?"
Okay. And so at this moment, you're asking him if he called the police.
Yes.
All right. And
He said, I know that he didn't catch what I was saying. I don't think he was paying attention completely. He said, yes. I assume that he has called the police.
okay, you're saying I know that he didn't. You mean as you sit here today, you know he didn't?
As minutes later, I realized that he did
Okay.
not.
At this moment, what was your impression at this moment?
That the police have been called.
Okay. Where do you go now?
I continue about that time, right around there. We were at the corner of Satilla Holmes, and then Burford's a couple yards past that. We were about right there. There is a group of bushes and kind of a jog onto Burford.
Okay.
So you can't see. You can see straight down the road, but where we were at, you can't really. You can miss something.
All right. So there's bushes here at the corner of Burford.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's hard to see.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What do you do?
Continue on Burford. I look down Satilla. I look down Holmes. There's nobody
All right.
on either side.
You're looking. Okay, then you go this way.
Yep.
Now what?
As soon as we get on Burford, I see turn out to be Mr. Arbery running down the road.
Okay, so what are you doing when you first see him?
When I first see him, I'm trying to see if I recognize him.
Okay.
And he's running. He's got long strides. He's athletic. He's athletic. He was in great shape. He was in long strides. I recognized that run, but
Okay. So what did you do next?
So I continued to drive up to him. As I'm getting closer, I recognized his haircut.
Where would you say you are on Burford when you get close to him?
I was 2 houses down.
Okay.
It was the first 150 feet, I would say.
All right. Now, how fast would you say you're going?
At that point, I was probably riding the brake.
Okay. Are you honking?
No.
Are you hanging out the window yelling?
Nope.
All right. Do you eventually pull up next to him?
I do.
Do you hit him with your truck as you pull up next to him?
I do not.
Where are you when you pull up next to him?
I got closer to him. I was center line of the road.
Okay.
And he was 2 feet off the edge of the road, on the road, but he was 2-3 feet off from the edge.
Okay. As you're approaching him, are you making any observations?
Yeah, I'm realizing, at this point I'm realizing this is more likely the same guy that I saw.
Okay.
But I'm also watching his hands,
Why?
watching his motion, make sure he's not armed.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm coming into, and if it's the same guy for the 11th, then I have some suspicions that he may be armed and may act on it.
Okay. What do you do next?
So I come up to him, pull up alongside of him.
Okay.
That moment, I recognize it is him. It is the same guy that I saw from the 11th. I asked him, said, "Hey, what are you doing? What's going on?"
All right, stop. Are you still driving when you say this to him?
Yeah. I'm coasting. I'm staying with him. I'm staying. He's right there at my door.
Okay. Have you angled in front of him to block him?
I'm parallel with him.
Okay. You say, "Hey, go ahead. What are you doing?"
What's going on? What are you doing?
What's the tone of your voice when you say
just like that? Hey, what's going on? I'm trying to, like I said earlier, I'm using leaps. I'm trying to de-escalate. I know that this can be, this could go any way, but I'm trying to find out what's going on. I'm trying to find out why Mr. Albenzi's pointing down the road, and he ran down the road, and if this is the same guy, then there could be something to this. Let's find out what's happening.
Okay. So you talk to him. What do you say?
Yeah. So I said, "Hey, stop for a minute. Stop. Will you please stop." Well, he didn't say anything.
Can I quote you at "stop for a minute"? Stop. Please stop. Did you actually use the word "please"?
I'm sure I did. I'm trying to, like I said, I'm trying to keep this as non-volatile as possible. So I'm not screaming at the guy. I'm just trying to find out what's happening. So he pulled. One thing I do notice as I start talking, 4 feet, 5 feet away from, hey, stop a minute, I want to talk to you.
What's he doing?
That's actually what I was saying.
Does he stop running at any point?
No, at this point he is still running, but I noticed
Okay.
it's not what I expected at all. Until
All right.
back
So
where
he starts to come back this way.
Yes.
Right. Does he speak to you?
He did not speak to me.
Does he say what? Anything?
Nothing.
All right. So he starts to run back this direction. What do?
I back up.
Okay.
Put the truck in reverse and match up with him again.
All right.
He turns and runs.
You're fine. You're fine.
We need to figure out what's happening.
Okay. All right. Before he ran up the road, at that second attempt of conversation, did he speak to you and say, "Hey, what is it?
No.
What do you want?" Or any kind of words whatsoever?
Not yet. No.
Did he make eye contact with you?
Eye contact if he's what's happening.
Okay.
What is happening?
All right. Did you eventually reach him?
Yeah, I decided to come up to him again to get up time and just tell him, "Hey, the police are coming."
Okay. Are you yelling?
No, I'm not. I'm actually probably softer than I was the first time.
All right.
Just trying to.
You said Burford Road.
Came to me, he's still looking at me angry. I'm thinking, man, this guy's this could be volatile, in there. And then I said, hey, the police are on the way. As soon as I said the police, he turned and ran straight back down Burford towards Holmes, Satilla. All that call in that house again, and he's up to probably been caught on that. He's up to probably been caught on that property and is trying to evade, trying to avoid from being stopped by the police. Well, obviously, he's running.
Trying to avoid being stopped by police.
Mm-hmm.
Did you, in the first statement, was it shown, brandished in any way whatsoever?
It was not. And matter of fact, as I'm going down, like I said, it's a brand new truck. I just bought this truck, this vinyl seats, and I've never stopped. I thought that we're about to have we're about to communicate, see what's going on. About this time, my dad was getting out of the vehicle. Dad was getting out of the vehicle, obviously to get out of the car seat, and started climbing into the back of the pickup truck.
Okay, what did you do?
Watching Dad, and then I realized.
What do you mean watching Dad?
On the side of Satilla, if I'm looking down, the left side of Burford, if I'm looking down Burford towards Satilla and.
Okay, so this is the road.
Yes, sir. There's a shed at the truck, and he was at the left side of the truck.
Okay.
And I watched that happen, and then from where I was, what it looked like is Arbery got in front of the vehicle. And
what did you do? Got
back in my truck. At that time, my dad is obviously seeing this as well. And he is to this vehicle to where Mr. Arbery. At this point now is whatever happened up there, there's a likelihood that something has happened, because when I tell him that the police are trying to avoid it or whatever happened, something's not right. I don't know what's going on. The cops are coming. From my thought at this point,
what's your goal at this point?
My goal is to let the police know now. Is to let the police know where he's at and just kind of watch what's going on to see where he's at. To see where he's going.
All right. Well,
I decided to continue down Burford to Zellwood. Take this time. You can see where Burford has in the back of the truck, so I can't, with a new hip and stroke and all that. So I'm not going to go fast. I don't want to. The police are going to be here at any second. If I would have, yes.
Okay. Instead, you come down Holmes.
Yes.
All right. When you get on Holmes, do you see anything?
I don't.
What happened? It's a visual that you can't see past.
That's correct.
Okay. So you come down Holmes, you say.
Uh-huh.
Do you see anything?
I don't.
All right.
Maybe riding the brake.
Okay.
I'm just sitting.
All right. At any point in time, do you see something? Halfway down Holmes to the dog leg.
To the dog leg.
Okay. What do you do?
I continue.
See.
Just a second or two that I saw Mr. Arbery, because he was in that corner. So he was in the middle of the turn, and then a few strides, and then he was out of sight.
All right,
so
stop. Do you the dog leg?
Yes.
All right. When
Zellwood, and I'm coming from Zellwood towards Satilla.
All right. So I'm going to put a down. So over.
Looks like he wasn't behind the vehicle. He was with the vehicle, and he was on the vehicle. There was an open yard right there. This was about where the scene happened.
Okay.
And so everything was open, but he was with the right side, which would be his right side. When they're
on the right side of the road.
Yes.
On the correct car side of the road.
Yes.
Okay.
And
all right. Are you at all wondering why Mr. Arbery is not going somewhere other than this vehicle? What happened? Let me ask this question. When you get to the point where you see Mr. Arbery do the turnaround up here, do you shout anything out at him?
No, I don't believe I did. No.
You lean out the window with a gun or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
No.
How much time would you say? You think it was? You estimated 2 minutes at this phase here. How much time would you say that you've spent now?
Yes, 10 miles an hour, but it was. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's awkward with this board. Yeah. All right. Once you see what's happening here, what happens next?
I'm at the point. I'm coming to a stop. Going to Satilla Drive. I'm in the left lane.
All right.
I'm stopped at the time of the shooting. I'm back that way, but they are coming
From the right side of the road, the correct side to go this direction.
Mr. Bryant is the ditch.
Okay, so
There's a
up
bush there.
this side in the garage.
Pulls off, gets back
Yeah.
into his correct lane,
Okay,
and Mr. Arbery starts running.
yep,
And then they're heading to the dog leg,
yep.
and the last I see is him in front of the black truck, and the black truck is towards Zellwood. For exactly what I did. After they passed, I continued to go, verified from what I suspected.
The end.
There's nothing going on in front of me. I'm still under the impression that the police are coming. This guy's obviously, something's not right. He seems dangerous to me. He's trying to get in this vehicle. I'm still under pressure. The police are coming. I could see of what's happening or where they're at.
All right, and where in your car at that time, or where you're parked?
It's 3 houses down on Satil. I could see it looking across that open yard.
Okay.
I could see the yard. I could see the house there, man.
Okay.
Shouting distance from.
All right. So now you're parked. You've taken up view. What do?
Get out of the vehicle. And I'm with Dad.
Now coming back across the dog leg.
Yes, he's visual on the dog leg.
Okay. Do you know anything that has happened on the other side? Where is he running towards you? Is he in the road? Is he in grass?
No, he's in the road. He wasn't he wasn't in the other lane. He might have to the center of the same lane, but he wasn't in the grass. He wasn't in the ditch. He wasn't in the center. Lane.
Okay. He's running towards you. How far does he get towards you before you start saying?
And the straightaway, so it was probably 30 yards.
Okay. And you, again, tell us what you do. Show us how you do it.
Yeah, so I yell at him, stop. Stop. We were in eye contact. Mm-hmm. He was at that moment. He was to stop where you're at. Okay. He continues. He gets about where you're at from me at this point. This is the second, 2 seconds.
What do you mean this is 2 seconds?
How long it took from me yelling at him. At this point, he made it to about 10 feet from the back of my truck. My dad's yelling at him. And he runs back towards Dogwood.
Goes back.
My dad's yelling at him. And he runs back towards Dogwood.
Goes back towards Holmes, obviously.
Holmes, yes.
So he comes down. I knew I was going to do it. It's the permanent. He runs and goes back.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. What do you...
Went out, and I start going down there to see what's happening. I said, no, I need to stay. I need dad's up here in the back of the truck. I know what's going on here. I don't know what's going on down there. And this guy is still back on the door. Pick up the phone. Call 911.
Okay.
As soon as I call
the first time on Holmes, now he's gone back down Holmes?
Yes.
Okay. You said you just given the cell phone to your dad.
Yes.
How is it
that he has not called 911? And actually, as that was going on, I had to crawl into my truck and go to the passenger floorboard where my phone was slid off, and called 911. And as soon as I called 911, I looked, and Mr. Arbery has already passed. The dog leg was coming back. Like I said, he was like spring loaded, like a running back, like he's ready to bolt or to move any way he wanted, But it was focused on me,
showing him running towards you. Right. Is that what you believe to be this moment now?
Yeah, looking left or right, or pivoting and avoiding where Brian's truck. One of the things that kind of threw me off was as they're coming, he wasn't blocked. He could have went into this ditch here and into this opening for me, and he's at this gate where he's looking like he's about to run. He has the possibility to get this burst out. And if he gets this burst out at this point when I pulled the shotgun, I wouldn't have time to react if he wanted to get on me or to pull a gun or have a knife, or if he wanted to do ill will to deter him to do not everything that's happened. Everything
on you like that
from training and prior experience. There's a thing called Tooler drill.
A what?
Tooler drill.
Okay.
A 21-foot roll. I think is popular area.
Okay.
It says that any average somebody to react, it's an average of 21 feet for somebody to react, to pull a weapon and yelling, and he's continuing. At that point,
he sees that you have a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know that he sees you have a weapon? What do you do?
I had the weapon out at this point, and I had it.
Does it have the effect it
Did.
Which was what?
It did. He angled. He no longer when he does that. As soon as he darts, I put the weapon back down and move away from my vehicle. Make a distance. I'm thinking he's going to go across this yard.
Well, what if he did? When you say you let him do it, you mean shoot him and shoot him.
He is no longer a threat to that vehicle. If he turned left, I know which way he went. Please
Ask you to interpret what you've seen on.
I point the shotgun. When he angles and then he turns and starts making it directly to the truck, I'm thinking, well, he's coming back to the truck again. My father's in the back of the vehicle.
So what? Your dad's in the back of the vehicle. So?
Yeah, so the path he's making, he's going to make contact with the vehicle, or going to be around the vehicle. He can jump up, grab dad, or still under impression that he might be on. I'm not going to be able to see him at this outside of the crux, right at the edge of the door jam.
Okay.
And then when he turned and went to the passenger side of my vehicle when he flexed, I went ahead and moved to the center of the road.
Why? Back at the truck. Stupid question. So you come here, and now what?
So it goes in my vehicle.
Okay.
It goes in my truck.
All right. So where do you move to?
I moved to the front of my truck, and at this point, I'm thinking either he's on my dad at this point, or he's going to run by, or he's going to see that I have gone and try to jump in my truck from the passenger side. He could lay down. He could draw a weapon if he's at this point. This is the point that's critical that I think.
All right. So get in the truck. Is this in your mindset?
See what's going on, and he has access to my vehicle, which is still running, by the way.
So what do you do?
So I go to the front of my vehicle.
All right. Front where?
Front left corner, turning into it, going to the front of the hood.
All right. So if we're here, this is the front left of the quarter panel, and this is the right front quarter panel from here to here, the front of your car.
Right. It's in my hands. Port arms.
Port arms is what?
I'm down. I got it down. Both hands on it, hand on grip, and on both.
And what are you doing?
To it. I was going to get to the front, to the center of the vehicle. At that point, he was right there. If he decided to turn, he'd see me and continue running.
Okay.
I get to the front. That's the first thing that hit me.
What did you do? Did he stop when you shot?
He did not. And it'd be easier for somebody to get it from you. So I always, been pulled. But we were together. We were locked up. He was on that shotgun.
You've seen the video we've talked about where you see where your bodies were moving?
I knew that he was. I knew that he was overpowering me, but I didn't know which direction or what mechanics he was doing it to. Or what mechanics he was doing it to overpower me.
Do you, at that time, did you remember how many times you shot the gun?
No, I didn't. I thought I shot twice.
But you got.
He was yelling that I realized that he was deceased, and I looked up and the police were right there. I stood up, realized that that
Do you remember? Did officer know how he give you?
I struggled. It's now I would go to one thing. I would say I saw him on Burford, and then we lost the phone. But when I grabbed the phone and it was under stress. I was under. This was less than 2 hours after.
Yeah.
After shooting, I was.
Agreement of sorts with Roddy Bryant. Bookend to try to corner Ahmaud Arbery.
I did not.
Did you want to stop Ahmaud Arbery and talk to him? It's sustained. Other than the hands when Mr. Arbery grabbed it, did you ever pull out your gun?
No, I did not. I had my gun out and was walking towards the dog leg, the first encounter we had on Satilla, on Holmes. but he was already running away. He didn't see it, and
Fair enough. I asked you, to pull
that
it
was,
out.
Yeah, but
It's not telling him that he did in fact leave the house that day. It's did you leave the house that day?
It's leaving. It's sustained.
Leave the house that day.
It's leaving. It's sustained. It's a yes or no question. Don't ask me yes or no question. It's leading. Yeah.
Well, it's not a leading if the answer could be yes or no. But
We can debate it all you want, Mr. Sheffield.
I
It's
understand.
sustained.
I understand. Okay.